everybody, it is Patrick McLain, as you know, one of your hosts for REIMAGINE 2020. We have a pretty cool guest here. I know a lot of you have heard of Binance, right? So Binance is one of the bigger names in crypto. I think, as you guys know, there's a US version of it now, right? So I know a little bit about it. I'm actually excited to hear more. But before I butcher it, I will let Catherine Coley, how do I pronounce
Coley.
it?
It's like guacamole.
Coley. So first off, how's your day? Where are you at? How's the weather? How's life?
Hey, so Catherine Coley here. You can call me by my last name. I am having a great day. It's an awesome Friday. We've had a big week in crypto, and I'm excited for what's to come too as well. So it's a warm and beautiful day here, and looking forward to chatting with you.
So where are you at, by the way, for everybody listening?
Yeah, so when quarantine hit, I booked it to the East Coast to be with some friends and family, so that I would have someone to take care of me rather than be in my apartment by myself. So I'm over here on the East Coast enjoying a little bit of a 3-hour head start on San Francisco.
Very nice. So, I want to hear more about Binance US and kind of what those lines are between like core Binance and what you guys are doing. But, before we get to that point, maybe I'd like to hear a little bit about your story. So, like, what's your background? How did you get into crypto?
Yeah, so I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and had kind of a variety of things when you grow up in Florida, whether it's alligators, space shuttles, Disney, and a lot of those things kind of don't prepare you for reality. You think that's the norm to just go into outer space. You think it's the norm to have an imagination as big as a mouse. And you assume that alligators are the scariest thing out there. And so when I was going to college, I went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I really said, I think I need some real world experience. I think I need to get out of what I know as this future and kind of see how the world works. So I devoted to studying abroad as much as I could in places that I didn't really understand. So I did a program in Singapore, I did a program in Denmark, and then in Hong Kong. And I just began to pick up on the fact that the world needs a translator to be able to communicate really how the rest of the world is working and where we can better it, where we can build on top of it. And so I dedicated my first 6 years out of college to working internationally. I was based in Hong Kong. I took on a job dedicated to foreign exchange, which is the movement of global currencies. And I really was so passionate about understanding how the world was working, how money was moving around the world, and what were the factors that were affecting these different global events that we were seeing. And it's so amazing to have been in a place of that much energy. A Hong Kong trading floor is like an 11 in terms of excitement. And so I've always had this kind of passion to be the correspondent in the middle of the eye of the storm, reporting back to people on how things are or like what they can expect. And I think a lot of it comes from not being afraid, having grown up around alligators, but really wanting to be able to translate it for more people to understand and to be able to find it more accessible. And so that's really where I kind of leapt back into crypto. It wasn't an easy to understand place. And after foreign exchange and kind of hedge funds and understanding that and digesting it a little bit more, I said, I think there's more that the world doesn't understand. And to me, that was crypto. And it was like, I could piece together my foreign exchange background of understanding how global currencies worked. And I could see the future of a universal global asset or a digital currency that everyone could access. And I was like, there's some real meat here. I better dive in and really understand this, and then kind of be that person, reporting live from the middle of crypto. How can I help the rest of the world understand it? So that's what I did in 2017. I left my foreign exchange world behind and said, there's more to this currency business than just paying people in pounds or paying people in yen. And so I went over to work at Ripple and was the head of their institutional liquidity for about 2 years. And while I was there, I learned everything about exchanges, about market makers, about different funds, about different trading styles, strategies, the different tokens and currencies out there, and really kind of had a huge respect for this company called Binance, but they weren't really available in the United States. And there was a huge void, in my opinion, on the infrastructure or the platforms that people could go to be able to access digital assets in America. So I struck a conversation with a guy that I was sitting next to on a bus in Singapore in 2018, and the rest is history. We hit it off, and we got talking about, what could happen in the US, how could we bring the technology of Binance and that quality of a platform to American users and customize it so that Americans can feel comfortable around it, get educated in this space, and really begin to recognize the benefits of digital assets. And so in 2019.
So wait, who's this guy on the bus?
This guy on the bus, he happened to be the CFO of Binance. So it was a crypto event that was happening in Singapore, and I had, raised my hand to get invited to it through a couple of friends that I knew from my past FX world that now had crept into crypto. And it was run by a company called Cumberland that was a big operation out of Chicago. And, there I was in a room full of, I'll be honest, full of billionaires. You had the Winklevi, you had Jihan, you had CZ, you had Joe Lubin. It was a full stacked room of these crypto bros. And then there was, little old Catherine Coley standing there being like, this is the future. We've got something we could work on. And so I sat next to this guy on the bus and just started chatting with him, and he ended up being
Wait. Did you randomly sit next to him on the bus?
Randomly.
Did you purposely sit next to him?
No. Didn't know the guy at all. I don't even think he was wearing a Binance t-shirt, which is shocking because that's pretty much what we all wear once we're part of it. And just sat next to it. I saw that there was going to be a little extra leg room on the bus, and those buses in Singapore are tiny, and I'm actually quite tall. So I sat next to him thinking I was getting extra leg room. I didn't know I was getting my next job. And so we hit it off, having my experience in Asia. I lived in Asia for about 4 years in Hong Kong, and he had grown up in the South. And so we kind of had this cross-world connection of understanding each other from different viewpoints.
Got it. So I guess I'm trying to think of my next question. Like, you're kind of in, say, more traditional finance world. It sounds like Forex. You like the excitement of it, it sounds like.
I loved the excitement of it. There's something about the adrenaline of being able to read a news event and see it impact a market that to me was almost like, video games are a bad equivalent of this energy, and being able to have macro views on markets was the positive traditional finance view of it. But it was fast paced. It was, aggressive in terms of needing to know what you were dealing with. You're dealing with some of the smartest investors in the world as well. So just surrounding yourself with people that are really viewing what's happening in a macro level as well as a micro level put me in a place that I said, I'm learning every day. And that to me was what I enjoyed. In college, I would audit classes in order to learn more. It's just an exciting feeling knowing that you're understanding how this world is working because we're all a part of it.
So then you're at XRP, it sounds like. And one thing I think is misunderstood, and we've developed a pretty good relationship with them. I've talked to them enough to understand, like, I think one thing XRP or Ripple is kind of misunderstood by is maybe in the chaotic crypto world where everybody wants to be anarchist, right? XRP is kind of like put into a bubble where they're thought of maybe as more institutional. But at the same time, what I've seen from them is that I think people don't understand, right? Whether it's remittance, right? Or what they've really laid the piping down for institutionally. I think people don't truly respect kind of what they've done. How do, in hindsight, how do you kind of reflect on that time at XRP, and how do you think that kind of shifted your future rather than working for maybe a non or anti-XRP company? Like, how do you think that kind of prepared you for where you're at now?
Yeah, I'll be honest, in 2016, I still probably owned more Brooks Brothers shirts than I owned t-shirts. And so, I was a different breed of what San Francisco wanted to see. And so trying to cut into the crypto world, knowing that you used to have to wear like pantyhose and heels every day to work is a it's a full 180 to how crypto was adopting people.
Do you golf?
Of course I golf, but I've been golfing since I was 9.
I mean, I don't golf, so like I don't know. Like,
no worries. Well, since I was like 9, I was like, well, golf is the only, the language for business. I better learn now. So, anything I could do to prepare myself to be able to tackle, what was ahead of me. But actually, funny enough, foreign exchange is more of a tennis sport world.
Yeah.
That's non sequitur. But to me, cutting into crypto, Ripple was something that was going to accept the 5 years of hard work that I'd done, knowing the institutional players in the space. Whereas, kind of that early on anarchist OG spirit really was rebelling against those huge hedge fund managers. And I think that's something that was, still is difficult to see that being such a conflict in crypto, where there might be some misunderstanding that some of these big macro players are genuinely just looking at movements and demographics and behaviors of people. And so they're going to want to understand that there's a dying need for people to understand how they can have a digital version of something, not a physical version of something. They're going to want to see people that are moving away from a government-ruled currency to one that's self-sovereign. And so those were the steps where I feel crypto kind of put walls up and blocked people out. And I'm here to tumble them down and say everyone's can be a part of this next revolution. It doesn't need to be a specific type of person. It doesn't need to look like something else. You need to have an internet connection and a passion to be in control of your future. And that's it.
I love it. So and I think I had lost you a little bit earlier, but so like, when did you start with Binance? So you only, and just briefly, you didn't go to Binance. It was just, were you there at the inception of Binance US?
I was. So in around June 2019, I began working on the project Binance US. It was a party of one, worked out of my living room. Not much has changed, still in my living room. But we so you started as CEO of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got it.
So we kicked it off. We figured out what type of platform we wanted to be building for the US. We figured out where we wanted to, where we could be operating. One of the things that you realize when you're operating a marketplace in the United States is that there's a huge amount of regulation involved. And it's actually done at a state level as well. So you have to get licenses per state in order to operate. And so right now we're operating in about 74% of America, working every day with the regulators to operate in more of those states. A lot of them are on the East Coast. And it's an exciting process to be able to build a business that you can justify and get regulated and begin to conduct business in all of these states is something it's a long process to do. I equate it kind of to applying to colleges. So I hope a bunch of college students can understand how difficult that was. You had to have, good grades. You had to take the SATs, maybe twice. You had to get referral letters. You had to write essays. Each school has a different essay format. There is the common application, but there's a ton of personal essays that you've got to write. So that's really how the application process for us to operate in these individual states was as well. That kind of each state has their own requirements, and we had to qualify in order to be able to operate in those. So that was really the laying down the foundation of it, as well as being able to be at par to where the other US marketplaces were. When we first launched, we didn't have an app. We were web-based only, which in 2019, who doesn't have an app? So, you've got to recognize that the whole world is mobile. So in 2020, we launched our mobile application on iOS and Android, making it more friendly for users, because if crypto can be a nomad, you need to be a nomad. So you need to have it on your phone wherever you can go. And we've seen huge growth since then, and especially since the lockdown, which is pretty exciting.
Got it. And I think for anybody listening, for the thousands of students that we know are listening, as Catherine just said, right, I think it's interesting to listen to stories like this, right? And I don't always do this, and I'm already realizing this is going to be an interview that I would probably wish I had another hour. But sometimes I like to get kind of to the core, right? Like, how did you actually end up here? Like, what was your journey, right? Because I think sometimes for students and variety of people, they feel like their life's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then if at one point they haven't reached a certain milestone they thought they would hit, right? Like, oh, I'm failing, right? And I can say even from my own experience, like, it's not like that, right? You might take a left turn and a right turn. You
Oh,
might end up places that you never realize. So.
absolutely. And I think you need to be looking for those places that you never realized. I never thought I would spend 4 years in Hong Kong and then have to pivot and move to London. And then after that, pick up and say, God, I could be anywhere. After Wall Street, and I'll be honest, I was laid off in Wall Street. It was a reduction of staff from fixed income that dropped 40% of Morgan Stanley's staff. You kind of have to realize, pick yourself and be like, did I fail? Did I fail at my job? And you're like, no, you didn't fail. You just gave yourself an opportunity to pivot anywhere. And it took me a while to break into the next idea, but God, I'm so grateful for having been forced to change my direction, because it's been able to give me such an opportunity. I mean, when I first set out, I wanted to increase more women on the trading floor at Morgan Stanley. And it was a hard slog. I mean, there were not many of us, and it was a difficult work environment. Yet here in crypto, I've been able to pave a path where we've been able to hire 30% of our team as women, and they're leading forward. They're taking on leading roles. Our head of product, our head of operations, our head of business development, our legal, and our finance. Those are all jobs that in another industry they would have still been held back. So I think it's a real great space in crypto that you can really pave your own path. And build what you want to see in the world. And what I wanted to see in the world was a way I could access my money outside of my job hours, because that was the pain point I was facing earlier. I wanted to invest, but I was working so hard from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. Trying to be an FX trader. And, you don't have that time to be able to try to invest in something or take a look outside of it, because you're so focused on your job right after college. So I think something about crypto is kind of friendlier to people, that they can look at it whenever they want to. They can, check it at 1 a.m. if they're feeling like it. They can look at it at noon. It's something you can do in your lunch break, or it's something you can do full time. And that flexibility to me was just hugely, giving me freedom. And I think that's, at the end of the day, what a lot of people want, is that freedom to be able to do something and then have the ability to invest and have money work for you, so that you can do whatever you like in your real life.
100%. So you're sitting in your living room. You're like, I'm going to be the CEO of Binance US. How did I get here? Take me through, so it sounds like it's been about 18 months right now.
Oh, no. Maybe. It's been a lot less than 11 months since the exchange went live.
Sure. But it sounds like around January 2019 was kind of the prep. I'm sure there was a lot of legal, regulatory compliance.
Yeah, and I was still learning about it, but I was working at Ripple then. So only until June did I put on the right T-shirt.
Yeah. So take me through that. What was that journey like? I mean, I'm assuming that you were kind of dealing with multiple parts of the organization. And how has that journey been? What were the first 6 months like, for example? If you were to pull out points in your mind that kind of stick out.
Yeah, I mean, the 6 months of leading up to me actually taking the job were a lot of pros and cons of going, okay,
sorry, just for the sake of time, no, not to interrupt you, but the 6 months from the day you took it.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What were the first 6 months of I'm going to do this? What did the next 6 months look like?
The most important part to me was hiring the right people to join me in this journey. So I spent a lot of time really dedicated to finding the right folks that would come in and be my first 5-10 employees. We've now, grown to about 30 in the United States, which is incredible. And the team that came in is everything I've asked for and wished for in this world. So, being able to find people that were going to be able to be confident in the space, push the boundaries of where we wanted to define ourselves, as well as hold me accountable while we're building this. So it was a lot of the hiring process was early on.
Yeah, but I'm imagining your biggest fears, or if you had fears, were they about regulatory compliance? How do you catch how do you catch Gemini to get all 50 states, or how do you compete with Armstrong and Coinbase? Like,
Yeah.
what were the things that first 6 months that you were racing for?
First 6 months were who's going to be by my side for sure.
Yeah.
The next one was what is our platform actually going to look like? What tokens are we going to be able to offer? We had to build our entire digital asset risk assessment framework because the United States has much stricter ways of listings. So you see Binance.com has over 200 coins listed because they're able to kind of proactively list what people want in the space, where in the US you have to kind of go through a framework, make sure that they're not a security, make sure that they've got the right community and components to be successful in the United States or to a United States audience. So we kind of began with that, and we launched with 7 coins, which was hugely disappointing to the whole market because they're used to Binance.com with 200 plus coins, and here Binance US comes out. We don't have an app. We have 7 coins. Disappointing people was a huge first step that I was like, I got to get over this because this isn't the final chapter of what it looks like. And sure enough, fast forward since our launch, less than 10 months later, we've got over 40 coins listed. We've got an app, we've got an OTC desk, we've got a buy crypto button for reoccurring automatic buys. We've got VIP coverage for our top traders. And we've got a financial fitness program where I get to interview athletes all over the US and walk them through their financial understandings. So we're a fast molting object when it comes to a player in this space. And I think that's one of the strengths of Binance and the strengths of Binance US is that we iterate, we listen to our users, and they tell us really what they want to see, and we go and build it. And that's really how we've been able to grow so quickly, is just keeping our ear to our users, being a platform built for them, and having a really great team behind it too.
So I want to get to that here in a little bit, like where you guys are iterating, kind of how you imagine around innovating. I had mentioned earlier, I got a chance to spend, I think, hour and a half, 2 hours interviewing Josh Goodbody a while ago. And I had kind of pulled out from that interview. I was like, oh shit. Like, are you guys going to go for like the Apple Play, like the whole, like Apple Play, like the whole closed loop ecosystem, And, so I guess before we get to that, I'm curious personally, and I think maybe other people are, what were you able to leverage at that point when you launched from Binance? Like, how do you guys draw the line? So on day one, you had money, maybe some legal resources and some technical resources, but you had to be very careful in regards to regulatory compliance, et cetera, where you had to be very, clear on what lines you crossed or didn't. And, what did you need more of for a while that you wish you could just go to the other side of the fence and say, hey guys, come over here and help me? Right? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, so we're able to license the technology and the brand. That was a huge one. The color scheme, and a lot of kind of the components that Binance has been successful about putting users first. We wanted to follow that same mantra. Our culture is very similar in the same way of being, humble, hardcore, and celebrating freedom. Our technology, the tech stack that we were able to use was all there, but of course you've got to customize it to the United States. You've got to fit it to dollars. Binance.com does not have dollar on-ramps or off-ramps specific to the US, like ACH, wires, debit cards. So we had to fit all of that into the US model, being able to provide on-ramps for dollars, being able to provide KYC and AML procedures that were smooth for folks to be able to come through, being able to be compliant in the United States. So, my team is our legal team, our finance team, our compliance team, our operations team, all of our business development and sales we had to do organically because you've got a different audiences that you're catering to. Some of the things that we kind of came with or had an advantage of were the relationships that I built in the market in crypto in the United States. So being able to call on folks that I knew were active traders, that I knew were either healthy liquidity providers. Those were great people that I could call on and say, hey, I'm just starting out. I really need you to help support us. Do you mind onboarding onto our platform? And so we were able to get kind of an early start in that respect of bringing in a couple of key players to help us launch and start the platform. But the technology is still kind of, we can see how Binance has built it. We can see how Coinbase has built it. We can see how Gemini's built it. We're at an advantage and disadvantage for being about 8 years late to the United States marketplace scene. Gemini and Coinbase have been in this way longer than we have, which is a couple of things. They've got all their licenses that they need. They've got an established customer base. And those are some of the things where we can be aware of, but also deliver a difference. So that's really kind of where we see things. We can use what Binance.com has done wonderfully and fit it into a US model, and we're kind of how Americans like to be trading versus how the rest of the world likes to be trading. And then also look at our kind of peers in the market and say, okay, interesting play there, but how can we work on that? How can we modify that?
So what did you actually inherit technically, like the matching engine?
Yeah, so matching engine, those resources we still can rely on, so we can license, the technology and those behind it to help build stuff for us. But we inherited like the first part of our name, and then everything else kind of had to be built custom for Americans.
Got it. All right. So it sounds like the first 6 months you're like, all right, I'm going to do something crazy. I got to find people that I trust because I don't want to go to war alone. I got a color scheme. I have a logo and a little bit of tech. And then, so I guess two questions. One, what were some roadblocks that you hit that you weren't expecting? And two, what do the next 6 months look like? And I guess that, just to frame that a little bit. So one, what are some roadblocks you hit that you weren't expecting? And two, what was that moment where you felt like you got over the hump? Like, what was the moment where you finally felt like, okay, we're here, and maybe it was launch, right? But like, what was the moment you feel like, okay, it's clicking now?
I never think it's clicking now. I still fight every day to get one more user. So I think that's part of the journey, is always thinking we've not made it yet.
Come on.
There was
the first bottle of champagne you opened?
There was something really exciting. The first guy that I hired happened to be our head of legal and regulatory, and he's based in Washington, D.C. And so I flew him out to San Francisco to meet me in our office at the time. The second office, because the first one was my living room, was this tiny closet in San Francisco. And it overlooked the bay. So, had a good view, but it was just a one-room closet, and the two desks faced each other. And
this is $10,000 a month.
Probably. I was like, I think I even borrowed it from a friend, so it might not even been. But
now I know why you're CEO. You're efficient.
I'm not here to spend. I'm here to build. And so I sat across from him, trying to convince him to join Binance US for the better part of the week. And we were just working through things, kind of walking through what would be expected, et cetera. And we watched the sunset. I think it was a Friday night. We watched the sunset drop down. And he turned to me and he goes, "Coley, this is going to be something significantly bigger than I was imagining." And the moment I heard that from him, I realized, oh, good, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. This is something that we can actually do. Actually, someone else can see really the impact that this could have. So knowing that he had that, he said, I'm in, 100% I'm in. And he's been by our side for over a year now. And it's just incredible to have people be able to see what we see can be, down the road, the vision. CZ talks a lot about like a 25-year vision. And it's something that I always agreed with. And so it was very easy for me to see the 25 years out vision, but it's hard to build something for 25 years. And so, you've got to find the folks that can see that 25-year vision and understand the impact of it, and realize that frustrations along the way, or, a bad day or a bad week really don't affect you if the vision is still intact. And so I think that's something that it was a great feeling to know that I wasn't alone. There were other people that were connecting with this. And so we've just been building since.
So like, to hit on that point, and I'm genuinely curious around this, like,
and by the way, he was a Duke grad and I was a Tar Heel. So the fact that we were able to bring two rivals together to build this entire thing just says a lot about how crypto can make peace around the world.
He loved Christian Latner. He like
Leitner, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
But like around that the CZ vision, the 25-year vision, where does your autonomy fall there? And like, so where does like the global Binance vision? Where does your autonomy, or I guess Binance US, and I guess does Binance own you guys wholly, or is there another entity in the middle?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got a board of directors. We've got, that's kind of how we roll. We're an independent organization legally. We operate on our own, and we're able to, as I said, license the technology from Binance. Why wouldn't I leverage what I could from understanding how well they've built? In 3 years, they've done an incredible amount of growth and expanded an incredible amount of products to the space. So, of course, I'm going to be, leveraging what I can that's worked for them. But in the United States, a lot of things are different, and your customers trust different things. And so you've got to build it catered towards our users. And so, simplifying the front end of it, making it, easier to use, having simple buttons to click and buy crypto rather than a robust amount of order types and, advanced trading skills. That's kind of how we had to cater a little bit more to a US audience. So that's really where our autonomy, we're the experts in America. So we're going to be building it for our American audience. That's really where the lines are drawn. But the vision is everyone can follow this vision. It is to make money, have everyone to have freedom of their money. That's like not specific to a platform at all. It's mostly just how do we deliver freedom to more people through breaking the shackles of what institutions have done with your own money, giving you that autonomy to be in control. That's really where Binance stands for, and that is like a philosophy I believe in, but it doesn't determine kind of the path of the business. It makes me dream to build to achieve that goal.
Yeah. So like, who do you think? Well, I mean, I don't know you very well yet. Hopefully we might become friends after this. I feel like I already know the answer, and we'll just say, who are your customers? Say everyone.
No, I mean, it's funny.
I'm guessing you're world domination type CEO. Are there any customers you're not picking up off the table?
There are no customers that I'm thinking do not deserve to have freedom of their own money. So I'll say that there. But
you might be a politician one day as well.
I do stand for people that felt like crypto wasn't for them, or where they didn't feel like they belonged in the digital asset realm. I'm here to kind of prove that wrong.
And not to interrupt you, because I'm watching the clock here a little bit.
Yeah.
For Mark Yusko, I know you'll watch this. I'm going to tell you to watch this, and I'm going to hop off early, even though I want to talk to her longer because I got to speak to you. But like institutional retail investors, enterprise, B2B, if you have 100% pie, right? I'm half joking to say that, and I'm kind of the same way, that you probably want to take all of it. But what are the two biggest blocks? Like what are the two biggest that you would take?
Yeah, I definitely want more women to understand how digital assets work. I want to show them that it's an industry that they need to be absolutely in front of and a part of. Career-wise, it's entirely rewarding. Personally, trading, it's entirely rewarding. Being in these conversations and defining how this digital entire asset class is going to be evolving, we deserve to be in that conversation. So that's one group that I'm 100% catered to empowering. The other one, I come from an institutional background, so I know the quality of work that they're expecting. I can now bring that to the individual level. So being able to provide coverage for the active trader that might not have known what having 24/7 personal coverage is like, we're delivering that now to more people, not just the top 1% of banking customers. So having to be able that bridge between what the institutions expect, being able to deliver that high quality, and then also letting that come down into everyday traders. I think it's something that everyone deserves, kind of that quality of service, the quality of a platform to really work for them. And so that's where we're able to bridge that gap.
Have you guys fed any lessons back to core Binance?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that Binance.com didn't do was catering to a local audience. They were, addressing everyone at a global scale. And they've learned with Josh, with myself, that local audiences like to have specific things. There are rhymes and reasons that affect different geographies that are nothing in comparison. Think about the migration of students into colleges in September and end of August. That doesn't really occur in parts of Asia or parts of Europe. They're not going to fly across the country in order to go to school and live on their own. So those kind of aspects of understanding how the US is operating really come down to having that local presence.
Got it. There's like 5 questions I want to ask right now. I'm trying to figure out how to do this in time. So
quick, rapid fire. I'll answer really short.
You want to go rapid fire?
Yeah.
The market is on fire right now.
Yeah, it is.
I think people are partially losing their mind, but then also everyone's excited. And I feel like I got into this like literally right at the height. Well, about a year before, I was like, people were like, this space doesn't have enough engineers. So I paid like 20 or 30 of my engineers to slowly start to learn blockchain. So I was about a year before, but like the first Bitcoin I ever got was like the day at its all-time high. Like the day within like an hour. And I was like, wait. You're telling me I got my first Bitcoin and it just goes down immediately? So I feel like I've been watching the market kind of be relatively in not a winter, but it hasn't been what I heard of. Like, yeah, sure. Well, that's what it seems like. So how do you feel about that right now? What is it?
It's really hard.
Is it crazy? Is it real? What's this DeFi thing?
There are a couple components. One, we had another halving, and the last halving that we saw a huge rally 18 months after. So this one, I think we'll see, a shorter but still kind of delayed reaction to the halving. That's where the rewards are cut down, and so there's significantly harder to mine and earn Bitcoin that way. I think that will have a macro impact on it. Also, we've been all locked in our homes with no sports, and so trading overlaps a lot with competitive sports, and you're kind of playing against yourself versus the market. Good reminder, the market owes you nothing. So don't think it's going to win because you deserve to win. It's a market. It's just buyers and sellers matching off. So, but we've got a lot of those components. And as well, we had a huge economic downturn in March that made people really focus on what their finances were about. And we're wanting to try and figure out ways to get back up to those levels before we saw the huge drop off. Now, we've seen the stock market have huge rallies since. We've had the government plug, trillions of dollars back into the ecosystem, giving people stimulus checks, giving people, free funding to try to prop up this ecosystem. So I think there's a lot of dominoes that have fallen that are kind of timing this perfectly. The really key is to make sure that people are fully understanding the space, not just seeing it as a quick speculative kind of, gust, but actually understanding why these things matter and why they can be pillars that we're building on.
Got it.
But I'm excited, and the market is growing. Our company is growing as fast as we've seen it.
Something's going on right now. Something is going on.
And it might be that, oh yeah, having a self-sovereign, internet-based currency that I can build upon and have iterations of is what I needed. The world is moving around or not moving around, and you need to be able to still sustain. So it all makes a lot of sense to me, but I'm also, someone that is looking way farther out than just next month.
And again, I don't want to end this, but I'm going to keep track here. So I'm going to put up, last time Binance Charity did something, I think they matched like something 3-1 or whatever. I don't know if that happened again, but look, I'll put up, so I want to hear about Binance Charity for 2 seconds. I think I'd mentioned earlier we interviewed Helen or whatever 2 days ago. I'll put up $500 of your choice for your favorite Binance Charity group. But if you guys match it like 2-3-1, I'll put up $1,000 of my own money. So just name your favorite charity or event. Maybe if you don't right now, you can give it later. But if you know one that's on Binance Charity, name it now. Say a few words about it, and I'll throw in a little money.
We'll find one that we can do that for you, and we'll set it up. Because I think
cool.
There's going to be some good options coming out with students that really need to be able to have the financing to be able to study blockchain. So.
Perfect. So you'll get back to me on that. I'll do 500 minimum. We'll do 1,000 if you guys do a 3-to-1 match. I'll put it 1,000 of my own money, and if you guys match it, regardless of that, I'll do 500 regardless. So in going on students for a second, and we had talked before this call started. How are you guys thinking about students? And I didn't understand before, but I mean, I just caught it in a minute. Like, you seem pretty passionate about wanting to, that this might give students some type of freedom, right? Like, maybe you wanted to be a ballerina dancer, but like you also wanted to drive some nice car. Like,
I don't even own a car. I put it in Bitcoin. But
it sounds like you're in San Francisco or New York. These are convenient cities.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, our motto in Binance US is educate, don't intimidate. The space is so intimidating. You already mentioned it, that you had to be an engineer in order to understand it, or you had to be a, foreign exchange trader to understand it. That's not the case. And so we really want to make sure that students that are looking forward at what is my life going to look like? What is my career going to look like? What is this world going to let me do properly? They need to be understanding first how not being in charge of your finances can impact your life. That opportunity cost right there of being, ignoring it or thinking it just falls from a tree, that is huge. So really recognizing that you are in control of your own destiny, and investing starts with you first is really crucial. It's a mindset that you need to be understanding. And that's really what I want students to understand, that after these 4 years, it's you and your life, and the decisions you make are really ones that are going to determine what you want to be doing later on in life. So taking that and understanding how you can be in control of your finances, crypto does allow that to be a lot easier. You can access your money 24/7. You can trade and invest 24/7. You have, boundless amounts of projects that are popping up that you can learn about, get understanding in, to be able to, figure out. The other side of it is I've spent 3 years entirely infatuated by this space. It's kept me fed. It's kept me excited. It's kept me energized. I haven't slept, but I'm fine with that. Though that is a gift in itself, that I can spend this much time pursuing it. So if you're confused about, what excites you or what's out there, or, how do I fit in this next industry or world, try crypto, because it has so many facets. For the first time, you don't have to look like, one Bob the Builder. You can look like anything. You can be a designer, you can be an investigator, you can be a lawyer, you can be a trader. Yeah. You can build absolutely anything, and skills can be applied in any way into this industry. So that to me is the exciting part for folks that are kind of looking out and going, oh my God, the world's on fire. Do I want to be a doctor? There are alternatives out there, and I just want people to take responsibility for it.
Now I know we're gonna be friends. It's something I always told people. Like, I've had a very unique view. It was just random. I was like, I know where to find smart people. We were like, first, like, we want to invest in more companies. Like, let's go see what the college kids are up to. And then, like, slowly, I became. Well, you could say I'm in a bubble, and you're probably in a bubble, right? Where it's like, we live and breathe this, and we're around it all day, right? And it's like, then you go talk to the normal person on the street. No, like, they're like dealing with the rest of their life. And then, so it's like, I sit in a lot of rooms with people. It's like the conversations are so different, right? Like, like maybe they had gone through an ICO bust or this or that, right? So they're a little bit pessimistic or whatever. And then you sit on a call. Because I would do like a lot of calls in the beginning with like 30, 40, 50 students from different universities. And I would make a point to be the one just like, what's up, guys? Like, what are you doing? Like, I want to inspire you. And you get off a call with like 30, 40, 50, 20-year-olds who had never bought X coin at the height. And it's like, they're not sitting there pessimistic. They're like, I want to build tech, and I don't understand why it's not going to be on blockchain. Right. And that's the minute I realized, I was like, oh shit, like, what's going to happen to this market? I already know what's coming up behind. Like, I can sit in a room with these other like 30, 35-year-olds, whatever. And like, they just talk all day about their like little nuances of whatever. But like, then I used to sit with a 20-year-old and it's not there. Right. So I was like, I saw pretty quickly that the future is coming up behind us, whether we know it or not. Right. Like,
oh yeah. I had the fortune of going back to my high school and teaching a classroom, and out of the whole classroom, there were about two of the guys in there that got it. And I mean, went to the whiteboard, wrote out Satoshi, like mapped everything out. And the gift I could share with them was, don't be better than others for knowing that. Just sit and let the others like get up to your level. Teach them, break it down in different ways until the rest of the classroom understands it. We were 30 minutes in, and every single person in that classroom was like, this makes sense. And I was like, none of these people know how a bank works. None of these people know how capital markets work. They don't know that much about, tech and building and what it takes to run a company. And yet in their mind, having something that was digital, having something that was 24/7, having something that didn't have geography boundaries and sovereign on their own, those clicked. And so it was more like the benefits of digital assets make perfect sense to someone coming into this space, which gets me super excited. And that's really, as long as we can make sure that people are not using their knowledge or when the light bulb goes off as their own way to alienate other people, and they share it with everyone and say, okay, I'm going to break it down to make sure that you understand it just as much, we will be in a significantly more exciting world coming soon.
All right, guys, for everybody listening, and I know a lot of students are listening to this right now. I know investors are listening to this right now. I know corporations are listening to this right now. I honestly had no idea what to expect on this interview, to be completely honest, Catherine. Like, I'm a fan of yours now, actually. Like, I want to make sure that your message is amplified more, and I'll follow up with you later, actually, to prove that too. But before we leave here, let's say 60 seconds. Final words. What you got? Like, what excites you? What should people be looking for? What do people need to watch out for? What are you excited for? 60 seconds. Say whatever you want.
I'm so excited for Binance US to make it into more states going forward, because there are a lot of kids in college that are trying to figure out what's up, what's happening. Am I taking online classes? Where's this going? And so we want to be able to give you a platform that is easy to understand, lowering the barriers. We've got the lowest fees in America, as well as our motto, educate, don't intimidate. You can come direct to me on Twitter. I'm available 24/7 to walk you through things if you don't understand them. We're here for you guys. There's no future without you, and we're building it all together. So that's really where I stand. That's my last 60 seconds.
What do you like more, Gemini or Coinbase?
I've built something to fix both of them. So what do you think?
Do you not like either one of them?
No, I love Binance US. I don't like paying high fees.
I don't have an opinion on Gemini.
I don't like paying high fees.
But for Brian Armstrong, if you're listening, I don't like you, and I think you know why. But like that one, I'll say I don't know much about Gemini. But I'm not. You just converted me. If anyone is using a cryptocurrency in the U.S., Catherine just convinced me to use Binance US. Don't use Gemini. Don't use Coinbase.
You're spilling a lot of hate in the world. I think we just got to go with what works for people.
I'm actually one of the least hating people ever, but like, yeah, there's something.
Well, we welcome everyone to come and join us on our journey, and you let me know what you want to see on the platform, and we'll build it for you guys.
Let me talk about who I like now. Binance US, Catherine Coley. I gotta go. I want to talk to her more. I'm gonna push her for all the students listening. Obviously, we can reach you guys. And, MouseBelt try to do whatever we can to help you out, whether it's this event or resources or pizza or free crypto or books or whatever. I'm going to ping you, Catherine. I'm going to push you a little bit to get
awesome.
Pull it. I don't want to spend all my money. I want some of that Binance US money. Let's hope the kids, they're sitting at home doing they need things to work on.
The best part is if they sign up with Binance US and refer their friends, they earn crypto when their friends sign up. So it's a business for you guys in general. Even if you don't trade, you can earn crypto by just letting more people know about us. So try that on too.
She's so good. All right, Catherine, it was very nice speaking with you, and I'll follow up, and thank you for making the time for the students, for us, and we look forward to talking to you more in the future.
Thanks so much. Follow us on Twitter at Binance US, and you can always reach out. Thanks.